Discover 2 sinister and haunted true 4th of July horror stories that will chill you to the bone. The 4th of July cast an eerie shadow over Maplewood. Claire, a 34-year-old single mother, was preparing for the annual barbecue. All around, the scent of grilled burgers mixed with the sweet aroma of blooming flowers. Laughter echoed as children played, but beneath the surface, something felt wrong. The usual neighborhood cheer was overshadowed by a lingering dread, an almost palpable tension that twisted in Claire's gut as she set up in the backyard that it was supposed to be a day of freedom and new beginnings. But as Claire hung the red, white, and blue decorations, shadows seemed to creep among the vibrant foliage. The ancient oak at the corner of her yard twisted like an accusing finger, hiding the dark history of a child lost during a past celebration. The town's whispers about that tragic day, laden with horror, haunted her thoughts. She tried to shake it off, focusing instead on her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, whose excited giggles cut through the air like a shard of glass. Then came the sun, scorching and unforgiving, the crowds bustling with anticipation for fireworks. Claire adjusted the picnic table, heart racing. She turned suddenly, catching Mrs. Jenkins' gaze. The usually warm neighbor was staring at her, lips pressed tight in a grim line. When Claire waved, she received nothing but a chilling response. Mr. Thompson stood nearby, his jovial demeanor replaced by a cold stare, watching the sky as if waiting for something more than just the fireworks to go off. Panic crept into Claire's mind. Was she imagining things? Or was this town, once a home, now a cage filled with dark secrets? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun dipped low, fireworks bloomed overhead. Claire glanced around, feeling a knot of anxiety twisting tighter. The familiar laughter faded against the booming blasts echoing through the air, blending with the crackling sounds of dying fireworks. But then, as she turned back to Lily, the real horror hit her. Lily was gone. Just moments before, Claire had watched her skip toward the other children, all smiles and wide eyes. Now, emptiness gnawed at her heart. "Lly," Claire called, her voice frantic but swallowed by the raucous excitement of the party. Panic surged as she wove through the sea of unknown faces, each smile sharpening into a sneer, each laugh becoming a taunting echo. The warmth that once felt like home turned frigid. She ignored the local police, too busy with their own celebrations to help. Instead, Claire pushed on, deeper into the neighborhood, a black void of fear and uncertainty enveloping her. With each footfall, the air thickened. Old stories whispered from the shadows, lingering like cigarette smoke. An abandoned swing set swayed eerily, memory-laden voices calling her name. She felt the past press down upon her, a child lost in the very place her daughter played. The realization that her neighbors were hiding something twisted within. Their polished, suburban lives concealed darkness, guilt, secrets, a web of dread binding them all together. Claire's heart raced. She turned, surrounded by creeping shadows cast by the fireworks, only to find she was utterly alone. The laughter now felt distant and cold. Then came the most chilling sound, a laugh, echoing through the darkness. It was wrong, filled with malice, cutting through the joy of the night. Claire stood frozen, her breath hitching, the question burning in her mind. Who could she trust in a town hiding such horrifying secrets? The fireworks crackled and fizzled above, their dying light illuminating the once bright backyard now shrouded in shadows. Claire's heart thudded painfully against her ribcage as she scanned the crowd, desperate for any sign of her daughter. Each burst of color was a reminder of her absence. Each cheer felt like mocking laughter echoing in the dark corners of her mind. She was losing her grip on reality, panic spiraling, twisting into a nightmare. "Lily," she cried out again, voice trembling, yet it swallowed up in the uproar. She pushed through groups of families and friends, their faces blurring away. Each moment felt endless, stretching into eternity, filled with a sense of dread that gripped her chest tightly. Then, she caught a glimpse of a small figure darting through the trees bordering the yard. Lily's silhouette flickered in and out of sight like a wraith. Claire's instincts kicked in, locking her aside, all concern for the neighborhood. Watchful eyes that followed her, filled with something akin to glee, rather than concern. Those far too friendly faces had turned sinister, smiles drawn tight, eyes glittering with cold amusement. "Lily!" she yelled, sprinting towards the tree line, boots pounding against the grass. She stumbled slightly, the grassy ground a thick bed of unease. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the trees, seeming to lead her deeper into the dark. The woods loomed ahead, branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to her. Every whisper of wind carried a weighty secret, a knowingness that thrilled her with dread. Claire took a deep breath, pausing to listen. The laughter transformed, twisting into sinister whispers. "Come play, come find." Her pulse quickened. "Where are you, Lily?" She didn't want to step any further, but the frantic urge to find her daughter drove her. Heartsick, clawing through her fear, she pushed into the darkness, the oppressive canopy blocking out the last of the fading light. Thoughts whirled in her mind. Could there be something lurking here? The stories whispered at twilight, about a child lost long ago. Were they alive, or merely echoes of the past? The weight of someone watching made her skin crawl, beads of sweat rolling down her back. She felt it. She sensed it now, a presence, thick as mist, breathing with her. Something in the dark was waiting, watching. "Mom!" A small voice rang out, fragile and small against the abyss. Claire's heart soared, but was drowned in the very next heartbeat. That voice was wrong, a slurred mockery that spun dread through her body. "Mom, come play." Claire turned on her heel, panic hijacking her thoughts, racing back towards the direction she came, haunted by the cries. The laughter transformed into a cacophony now, rising behind her, a chorus of taunts, beckoning her back. "Mom, where do you go?" The voice echoed closer, followed by childlike giggles that pierced her with cold terror in her bones. Instinctively, Claire pushed harder, her breath ragged as she stumbled through the underbrush. The familiar landmarks of their neighborhood had vanished, warped into a nightmare where safety felt like a distant memory. Shadows stretched, morphing under the weight of the moon's feeble glow. Something snapped behind her, a twig breaking, a soft rustle. She turned, and there it was, something dark and formless tightening around her, uncomfortably close. In bounding terror, she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat. "Lily!" As she turned back towards the laughter, she encountered a pale face peering near the tree line, one that was not her daughter. A child with dark, empty eyes, a twisted smile, waiting just out of reach. Every shred of hope dissolved into the thickening darkness. "Come play, Mommy," and then it hit her, a shriek of realization surfacing from the chaos. What if this was just the beginning? What if those whispers weren't merely echoes, but a call that couldn't be ignored? Fear crackling at the edges of reason, Claire took a step back, heart hammering, breath hitching. When the truth revealed itself, would she be able to face it? Or would she become just another lost child in the shadows of Maplewood? Claire stumbled backward, heart racing, fists clenched. The child's laugh rang out again, resonating with an eerie glee, echoing through the dark woods. Panic clawed at her throat, tightening her every breath. She felt the icy grip of fear wrap around her like a vice. Yet her instincts screamed at her to run, to escape the twisted smile of the child lurking just beyond the shadows. "Lily!" she shrieked again, her voice breaking under the weight of despair. Breakdown loomed like a dark cloud overhead, but she had to find Lily. The hope that burned within her flickered like a candle in a storm. Darkness pressed in, and the trees seemed to sway, whispering to one another, taunting her will to fight. The air thickened, making her movements feel sluggish. Every rustle in the leaves prompted her to spin around. Every footstep felt as if it weren't her own. "Mommy!" The voice had soured, becoming part of the cacophony surrounding her. A chorus of tiny voices began to rise, children's laughter that blended into a malicious chant. "Come play with us, come play." Shaking, she fought through the tangled underbrush, casting frantic glances over her shoulder. Her mind buzzed, recalling every cautious tale that parents told about the wood's lost kids, things hiding behind the trees, shadows that felt too alive. And then she saw it again. A flicker of movement, a guilty little laugh slipping through the darkness. Was that Lily? Lily? She called, desperation spilling into her voice, tightening the edges with fear. The laughter pierced through the night, rising in unison to drown out her cries. Mommy, where are you? The words tangled with the shadows, feeding off her dread, morphing into a sickly sweet lure. It wasn't Lily. It couldn't be. Panic propelled her forward, but every step echoed like a drum, and the laughter continued, a twisted symphony that grasped at her sanity. Just when the darkness felt suffocating, she stumbled into a clearing. The moon hung above like an eye, watching. Lily was not there. Nothing was there. Just silence breathing in the air, thick and heavy. Her chest constricted, a gnawing fear twisting inside her. Then she stepped on something soft. A pile of leaves, perhaps? She looked down, and her breath caught. Bones. Small, brittle, and undoubtedly human. They lay scattered beneath the debris, remnants of something that once belonged to a child. No, the words slipped from her mouth like a prayer lost in despair. It clung to her, a realization sinking in. Voices taunted her from the tree-line, whispering the truth she didn't want to hear. Come play with us, Mommy, Claire screamed, twisting to flee, but those twisted shadows surged towards her, grasping at her ankles. The laughter turned monstrous, filling her ears, a grotesque serenade woven from her worst fears. She raced, adrenaline pumping through her veins, but the darkness stretched longer, reaching out. A thick mist filled the air, obscuring her vision, clouding her mind. Every direction looked the same. What was real? What was imagination? Help! She cried, voice cracking, despair breaking through. The moonlight flickered, revealing faces at the edges of the woods, rows of twisted smiles and wide, empty eyes, all watching, waiting, and a scream erupted from somewhere deep, instinctive, primal. Someone had come for her, but it wasn't the safety she craved. The ground beneath her cracked, opening a path to the unknown. Claire didn't want to know what lay beneath. Mommy. The voice again, so close now, sharp as glass, echoing into silence. She stopped dead in her tracks, the truth unfurling before her. Her heart clenched like a vice, begging to understand. When that childish laughter ceased, would she be able to escape? With every step forward, the shadows closed in tighter. Would she be swallowed whole by the woods? Or would she find Lily among the bitter dark and pay the price? As the echoes of laughter faded, Claire prepared to confront the sinister truth ahead. What awaited her in the whispers of a child's play turned dark? Claire stood frozen, the laughter dissipating into the chill night air. Every muscle in her body screamed to flee, yet she felt as if roots were sinking into the ground, holding her in place. The clearing stretched around her, an expansive void of darkness that felt alive, pulsating with menace. Mommy! The voice was farther away now, practically a ghostly echo lost in the trees, mingling with the scattered whispers. Anguish twisted in Claire's gut. Was it really Lily? Or the trickery of the woods, playing with her heart and mind? She forced herself to move, leaning into the suffocating fear, heart thundering in her chest. Each step was a battle. The ground felt like it was laced with quicksand. The whispers from the trees resumed, louder now, more mocking. Come play with us. Mommy, it was a taunt as much as a plea and invitation she couldn't trust. Wiping the sweat from her brow, she stumbled forward. Shadows loomed larger around her as she pressed deeper into the thick woods, limbs grasping at her, reaching out like skeletal hands. Claire's breath caught, her heart racing despite her fear. She had heard of curses and ancient stories, of children forever lost, ensnared in a web of twisted desires. What if Lily was among them? The mist began to swirl at her feet, thickening like a ghostly fog. It curled around her ankles, pulling her back. Panic clawed at her throat as she fought against its constraining embrace. She jerked forward, lungs burning, desperation fueling her every move. Suddenly, a flash caught her eye. A figure darted between the trees, a fleeting silhouette that sent her instincts squirming. Lily! She yelled, voice strained and hoarse. Where are you? She let the sound of her own voice anchor her, but it went unanswered. Ahead, flickering lights emerged like distant stars. Could it be a way out? Or just another trap? The shadows whispered soothing nothings. urging her to follow where the golden glows beckoned. Claire hesitated, weighing the pull of hope against the grasp of dread. "Mommy, help me." The voice echoed again, now close enough that Claire felt it resonate through her very bones. Urgency flooded her. She surged forward, heart racing. Ignoring the whispers now shrieking in rage at her disobedience, she pushed through the hedges. She emerged onto a small path lined with flickering lanterns. The lights swayed gently, illuminating a fairground, a place of laughter, cotton candy, and happiness. It felt wrong in the oppressive darkness, like a cruel mockery of joy. Claire's skin prickled. No one should be here in the dark, not under the weight of such a haunting. "Lily," she called again, hope kindling in her chest. But the laughter that came back was not that of children playing. It had become a cacophony of shrieks, twisted and high-pitched, slicing through the night. The lights flickered wildly, shadows tumbling over one another. Nausea urged Claire to turn back, but a sudden realization hit her like icy water. The paths leading to the fairground twisted and turned, creating endless loops. She'd be swallowed whole if she ventured deeper. But in the core of her mind, that single thought repeated relentlessly. What if Lily was out there? "Mommy." The voice came again, closer than before, beckoning her to come deeper into the fair's eerie heart. Her resolve teetered on the edge. Claire stepped forward, drawn into the light, only to find herself on a carousel that hadn't turned for decades, its painted horses still and haunting. "No," she whispered, as dread clawed at her throat. A chill swept over her as she recognized the ghoulish faces that now replaced the carousel animals, eyes gleaming with malice. "Come play with us, Mommy," they echoed, laughter erupting around her like a violent storm. In that moment, she understood this was not the end, but a beginning of horrors unspeakable. As a sickening realization dawned upon her, Claire's heart sank. Would she be the next to join them? Would she ever embrace Lily's warmth again? Just then, the carousel slowly began to turn, creaking loudly, the night air thick with a readiness that sent shivers down her spine. Claire gripped the edge tightly, the muffled sounds of children's glee surrounding her. But in that madness, a question gnawed at her: what would she have to sacrifice to get Lily back? And how far was too far? As the laughter enveloped her once more, Claire felt her grip slipping. The darkness loomed ready to consume her entirely. Would she find the strength to confront the shadows, or become just another voice echoing through the trees? And then, a single note broke through the madness, the soft giggle of a child, too innocent, too cruel. Was it Lily? Or had she already lost her to the whispers of the cursed woods? The carousel spun lazily, its eerie rhythm playing a dirge that mingled with the phantoms of laughter. Claire's grip tightened, splintering wood biting into her palms. She looked around, desperately scanning for any sign of Lily among the twisted faces of the former horses, faces now twisted in grotesque delight, their eyes glimmering with unnatural hunger. "Mommy." The voice echoed again, shockingly close. Claire's heart surged. Could it really be her daughter? Or was it just another trick, another trap laid by this malevolent playground? The walls of the fairground closed in, shadows shifting like predators ready to pounce. "Lily, where are you?" she cried, voice cracking with desperation. The laughter swelled around her, drowned in a torrent of malicious mirth. The sinister beings shifted closer, mouthless faces contorting as they inched forward. Claire felt terror expand in her chest, squeezing out rational thought. "Come play with us." Their voices slithered through the air, slipping into her ears like cold fingers. Each word resonated deep within her, blurring the line between fear and compulsion. She struggled against the pull of their invitation, every instinct screaming at her to run. But those eyes shining like candles in the abyss held her captive. Then, she saw a flickering light beyond the carousel. Amidst the cacophony, a figure emerged, silhouetted against the glow. Claire's heart leapt again, hope igniting within her. "Lily," she called, the name bursting from her lips like a prayer. The figure paused, the light revealing a small child fumbling through the dark, her hair tousled, a familiar silhouette. "Mommy," the figure called, stretching out tiny hands as if bridging an immeasurable distance. "Help me." For one breath, everything else fell away. The ghastly laughter faded. Claire lunged forward, breaking free from the carousel's grip, and raced towards the light. It felt unreal, fragile, slipping through her fingers with each frantic step. But as she approached, the child's form twisted, contorting until it wasn't Lily anymore. It was a shadow, a chimeric reflection made up of all the lost souls trapped in this cursed place, wearing her daughter's face like a mask. The wretched laugh returned, twisting both familiar and foreign, shaking Claire to her core. "Mommy, come play." The voice echoed, now a cruel mimicry of her own daughter. Claire faltered, heart pounding in a drumming that threatened to explode. Despair swept over her. "No," she screamed, feeling a surge of defiance. The shadows lunged, grasping at her limbs, but she fought against their frigid hold. "I will not lose her." A sudden surge of power coursed through her veins, fueled by a mother's love. With every ounce of strength, she tore free, racing away from the scene, the echoes of derangement rising behind her. But the fairground wasn't done with her yet. The ground trembled, the paths now shifting in chaos beneath her feet. Lanterns flickered alarmingly, casting long, dancing shadows that twisted into terrifying shapes. The doors of the rides, once closed, swung open with sinister creaks, inviting her deeper into their demented mirth. Just as Claire caught her breath, she saw it a funhouse, its entrance grinning like a malevolent grin. The faces beyond the glass were more wretched than before, eyes catching her gaze, pulling at her sanity. Over their raucous laughter, another, more terrible sound broke through, the soft, melancholic weeping of a child. "Mommy," the voice echoed like a lament against a storm. Time stilled as panic gripped her heart once again. Was it real? Could she save Lily before it was too late? In that moment, a chilling thought rose in her mind. What if she had to face the dark truths within, confront not just the horrors but her own deepest fears? As Claire took a shaky step toward the funhouse, the ground began to shake beneath her, a prelude to the madness that awaited. Would she find a way to break the curse and reclaim her daughter, or would she descend into her own nightmare? And as the shadows gathered, preparing to swallow her whole, the whispered question hung in the air: what cost would she pay for salvation? Claire hesitated at the threshold of the funhouse, a dark maw that promised chaos. The laughter echoed through the entrance, warped and disjointed, wrapping around her like a frigid blanket. Her heart pounded, a wild drum in the oppressive silence that threatened to consume her sanity. "Mommy," the mournful sob floated again, more desperate, resonating with something deep inside. Was it Lily? The image of her daughter's smile cut through the darkness, lighting a flicker of courage within Claire. Just one more step. Just one. Stepping inside was like plunging into icy water. The air turned thick with the sense of mildew and despair. The walls were a patchwork of mirrors reflecting twisted versions of herself, mocking her with every glance. Faceless figures moved in the periphery, indistinct and shadow-like, empty yet watching. "Who's there?" Claire's voice trembled, cutting through the laughter like a knife. Bare echoes mocked her, and the weeping continued, drawing her deeper into the maze. She took a breath, steadying herself, then pushed onward, each creak of the warped floorboards sending sharp jolts of dread through her limbs. "Help me, Mommy." The plea grew more urgent, more painful. Each word was punctuated by a haunting sob that twisted her gut tight. Claire's eyes darted around, searching for the voice. Was it a trap? Or did it lead to her daughter? She turned a corner, entering a mirrored hall that reflected a broken world. Faces appeared in the bounds of glass, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams, a gallery of the lost. Suddenly, Claire saw a flicker of familiar hair amidst the reflections. "Lily?" She beckoned, voice shaking. The hair turned, revealing a face that seemed to morph, shifting from Lily's sweet features to a blank canvas of shadows. "Come play with us." The chorus rang out, the voices familiar but twisted. Claire tightened her fists, her breathing loud against the silence. "No," she shouted, feeling the air tremble with unyielding energy. "I want to be part of this." But they came at her then, swarming like locusts, faces melding and distorting. Claire stumbled back, hitting the cold surface of the mirror. It rippled under her touch, a deceptive promise of escape on the other side. "Mommy, you have to find me. Please." The genuine anguish in her daughter's voice pierced through the dread. Claire resolved herself, chasing the voices through the maze, sliding through the swathes of laughter that clawed at her sanity. She felt her mind unravel like frayed twine, the pressure of despair building like a storm about to break. Each room she passed revealed more horrors. A clown with eyes like empty pits grasping at her, a jester whose grin split to monstrous proportions, and hallways filled with echoes of children's laughter turning malicious. The deeper she went, the louder the shadows sang their terrible chorus, beckoning her to join their nightmarish revelry. With a sudden sense of direction, Claire ran towards an archway draped in tattered fabric that whispered at her approach. She stepped through and fell into a dimly lit room, a twisted carnival scene. At the far end, shadows danced around a river of darkness, and at its banks stood what looked like a puppet show. Mommy, the voice was unmistakable. Claire's heart raced as she rushed forward, dodging elongated limbs that reached for her. The puppets twitched with life as if hungry for her fear, but nothing mattered now. If it really was Lily, she would not turn back. Not again. The shadows swirled, closing and closing her off from escape, their laughter rippling in waves. Just ahead, an outline emerged in the depths, a small figure. "Mommy, save me." The unearthly sobs swept over Claire now, merging with the mocking laughter that rang louder than ever. The shadows drew near, hungry for souls. But as she reached for the figure, everything froze. The shadows, the laughter, the despair, all stilled like a dreadful painting. "Are you ready to pay the price?" The voice was chillingly familiar, and Claire turned. She gasped as the very essence of fear loomed before her, a twisted reflection of what she could become. What terrible truth awaited her? What price bound her to reclaim Lily? The ground beneath her shifted once more, toppling into an abyss. Claire's resolve hardened. Time was running out. The question pulsed in the air: would she embrace the burden to save her daughter, or lose herself in the depths of horror? The world swirled back into motion, a maelstrom of colors and sounds spiraling into chaotic clarity. Claire's heart raced, pounding like a drum of war against her ribs. The shadows seeped closer, their murmurs turning to a low, conspiratorial hissing. They pressed against her, tightening like a noose. "Mommy, please." The figure's please sliced through the noise, sharper than the sharpest blade. She darted forward, her pulse sinking with her desperate breaths. The puppets danced, their strings taut, limbs flailing in a grotesque mimicry of life. But one shadow, one voice, stood out: Lily's. "Wait. Hold on, I'm coming." She pushed against the thrumming tide of darkness, reaching for the outline of her daughter. Each step felt like wading through thick molasses, the air pressing down, stifling her screams. Then, the laughter faded, replaced by an eerie quiet. An unsettling sensation washed over her, as if the very ground recoiled from her presence. In one fluid motion, the puppets froze, their painted eyes locking onto her. "What do you want?" Claire shouted, panic lacing her voice as the world pulsed around her. The shadows relinquished their grasp at last, revealing the small figure, shivering at the end of the room, a flicker of light in the encompassing gloom. Claire's heart surged with hope, but the joy was short-lived. A sudden gust swept through, slamming her against the wall. Pain shot through her as she struggled to breathe. The haunting figures began to reshuffle, converging again. Their laughter dripped like poison into her veins, inexorably pulling her back to the center of the darkness. "Mommy, save me." The voice morphed into a command, an echo of desperation that seemed to absorb her will. "You have to pay the price." "What do you mean?" Claire clutched her head, confusion mingling with fear. "What price?" "Your darkest secret." The shadows shifted, their shapes elongating, contorting with her fears. "You must face it or lose her forever." Louise's face, marred with disappointment and anger, flashed in her mind: the argument, the accusations, the day she refused to listen. That single moment when everything unraveled, causing waves of sorrow that had since drowned her spirit. She had carried that weight, that guilt like a tide, and now it threatened to swallow her whole. "Let her go? I'll do anything." Claire felt the heat of tears blister her eyes, blurring her vision. "Anything." The room laughed, a cacophony of sighs and jeers. "You'll find the cost is more than you think." Dark shapes emerged, whispering promises of strength, freedom if she embraced her pain. "Accept your past, you've kept it buried long enough." The chorus urged her to nod, to relent. "Face it, and the shadows will release their claim." The pulse of the darkness throbbed like a heartbeat, thick and hypnotic. Claire felt herself waver. Her heart trembled with uncertainty. Could she confront the truth of her past? In the face of overwhelming fear, she felt a surge of rebellion bubble, as if she could claw her way back. Overwhelmed with emotions, Claire screamed, "No, I won't let you take her from me." The shadows recoiled, howling in anger. The ground trembled violently beneath her, and the room began to collapse, mirrors shattering, laughter turning to cries of agony. "Mommy!" The unmistakable voice of Lily rang out, sharp as a knife. But the ground crumbled, and Claire had to choose, the past or the future. Time twisted. She could feel the abyss beneath her, hungry for her spirit. Then, a flicker of light burst from the chaos, illuminating the shadows. "Mommy, you have to believe." Would she dive into the darkness and face her fears to save Lily? Or let the shadows claim them both? As the last echoes of laughter faded and haunting silence reclaimed the space, it was then she realized everything would change. Before her, the path split, and a voice whispered from the darkness, "Choose wisely, or you will be forever lost." Claire hesitated, her pulse thrumming faster than ever as both paths beckoned. The shadows pulsed with an insistent energy, seeming to throb and contract like a living thing. Each breath felt laden with dread, forcing her to confront the looming horror that was her decision. "Choose." The whisper echoed, turning into a shrill scream. Shadows surged toward her, coiling around her legs, encircling her like snakes ready to strike. "Mommy, don't listen." Lily's voice was suddenly clear, slicing through the chaos like a knife. Claire's heart jolted. The call rang with an innocence that felt like a distant memory, something pure that had been lost. But the shadows insisted, rapping tighter, their voices now a discordant symphony. "Face the truth, Claire. You can't hide forever." In that moment, something deep inside her flickered, a smoldering ember of defiance sparked. If she wanted to save her daughter, she had to confront her demons. "I choose the darkness," Claire screamed, the words tumbling from her lips. The chilling realization, though, was that she wasn't sure if she meant it. The ground trembled violently. The walls warped and twisted, and the air grew thick with a bitter fog. An oppressive weight bore down on her. Then, the world lurched violently, and Claire felt herself fall. The darkness swallowed her whole. As she plummeted, visions spiraled around her. Moments with Lily, laughter in the park, the warmth of a sunny afternoon contrasting sharply against the cold grip of the abyss. Then another memory thrust forward, the night of the argument with Louise. Shouting, anger, the doorway slamming shut, leaving her alone. The panic of that moment bubbled to the surface like a rotten tide. And then it came shattering clarity. "I can't let this consume me. I must be better." A cry erupted from her throat, echoing like thunder within the inky blackness. A glimmer ignited before her, revealing a vast, twisted landscape. Shadows congregated at the edges, whispering threats of despair. She was in another place, a grotesque version of her reality, where memories pulsed like wounds. "Lily," Claire called, desperation clawing at her voice. "Where are you?" "Mommy," a faint echo danced on the edge of her mind. "Help me." As she dashed forward, the ground shifted, revealing a maze of memories dressed in fear. Puppets dangled from strings above her, their frozen faces twisted in agony, mirroring her anguish. She felt their souls, trapped, pleading for escape. "What happened here?" she whispered to the creeping shadows, searching. "Pain," they hissed back, their voices overlapping as though they were one. "Regret." Truth. Then, she noticed them, figures flitting in the periphery, half-formed and flickering like lights on the verge of dying. Each wisp resembled a piece of her past, each echoing a moment she wished she could erase. Claire clutched her head, torn between the need to save Lily and the weight of her secret, her greatest shame, which threatened to rip her apart. "Face it," the shadows howled, their voices rising in a fearful crescendo. "You can't save her while you carry that." The landscape shimmered with a pulsing haze, enveloping her in prodigious terror, and Claire staggered, grasping at her heart. Her secret, the one buried beneath years of sorrow, felt like a knife inside her. Could she confront the truth? Or would this hell drag her down, taking Lily with her? A sound cut through her thoughts, a soft whisper that turned into a scream. "Mommy!" Help me. Was it Lily's voice she heard, or the fading echo of her guilt? With determination surging through her veins, Claire stepped forward. She didn't just want to find her daughter. She needed to confront the darkest corner of her spirit before it snatched Lily away forever. As she plunged deeper into her memories, a single truth shone bright. Every choice demanded a cost she wasn't sure she was prepared to pay. And the shadows shivered, eager for her to hesitate. Will you make it in time, or will the darkness consume you both? The ground beneath Claire cracked and splintered, the echoes of her decision reverberating against the walls of her twisted reality. She charged through the haze, heart racing, each step fraught with dread. Shadows flickered around her, whispering her sins, taunting her with memories she wished to erase. You can't escape, they hissed. You wear your shame like a shroud. As she moved deeper into the realm crafted by her fears, she glimpsed a figure in the distance, small and vulnerable. The unmistakable silhouette of Lily. But the ethereal glow around her child twisted, darkening everything she loved. Claire's chest tightened, and she stumbled. Mommy. Lily's voice was a fragile plea, breaking through the suffocating veil of despair. Claire reached for her, desperation fueling every ounce of her strength. I'm coming, Lily. But each step felt as though she waded through molasses, the air heavy with sorrow. Suddenly, the maze shifted again. What had looked like Lily morphed into a grotesque caricature, her innocent face pulling into a mournful grimace. You left me. It wasn't Lily's voice now, but a cacophony of echoes. You abandoned us. The shadows interlaced their fingers, boxing her into the center of a swirling vortex of regret. No, Claire screamed, plunging her fists into the air, ready to fight. I didn't. I tried. The shadows laughed, a chilling sound that echoed all around her. You can't pretend the past doesn't exist. You can't deny who you are. As her breaths came in ragged bursts, Claire felt the weight of her secret rise, like a dark albatross around her neck. A shiver ran down her spine. What are you so afraid of? A shadow whispered, its voice smooth as silk, yet laced with venom. Is it the truth that you were never enough? That you had to leave your past behind? A memory pierced through her defenses, a time when she had felt utterly alone. Night after night, strung out on promises she had hollowed out. Louise's face bled into the darkness. Why can't you be better? You're scared of facing what's wrong with you. The words replayed in her mind like a relentless loop. Stop it, Claire shouted, but the shadows continued to tighten their grip, wrapping her in a web of anguish. You have to own this. Help me. Lily's garbled plea seemed to fracture the shadows momentarily, creating a flicker of light. It pulsed around Claire, beckoning her forward. With a surge of determination, Claire lunged toward the fragmented glimmer, fighting through the oppressive darkness. I won't let you have her, she cried out as she surged deeper, her hands brushing against ethereal figures, those memories that had haunted her. But then a revelation crashed over her like ice water. She halted, breath hitching. Is this my fault? Did I drive her into this darkness? The shadows roared, merging into one massive wave that crashed against her. It's the truth, they screamed. Face it, Claire. The cost will be your freedom. And just as Claire felt herself being sucked back into the oppressive fold of her failures, a chorus rose. Lily's voice. Mommy, save me. I believe in you. Torn between the heart-wrenching memories and the flickering hope of her child, Claire's resolve began to crystallize. What if confronting the truth was the key to changing everything? Yet as she took a step, the ground beneath her groaned, fissures opening wide, revealing a swirling pit of pure darkness, a maw of despair eager to swallow her whole. Will you sacrifice everything to save her? A voice echoed, more a growl than a whisper. Or will you let her drown in your secrets? Something in Claire twisted tighter, a decision looming overwhelmingly. One path led to salvation, the other to obliteration. With every nerve screaming, she raised her voice above the chaos. I choose to fight. The darkness recoiled momentarily, thunder echoing through the landscape. But in that instant of fragile light, uncertainty slithered back, a lurking dread. What if fighting meant facing something far worse than she could ever imagine? As the shadows shifted restlessly around her, Claire realized she had a choice to make, but it was far more perilous than she ever anticipated. Can you confront what's been hidden away, or will the darkness drag you under? The shadows recoiled, a menacing wave pulling back as if Claire's declaration had struck a chord deep within the malevolent force surrounding her. The path before her trembled, crackling with energy, flickering like a faulty bulb in an abandoned house. "Lily," she called again, desperation blooming within her like a choking vine. The name echoed through the horrors of the funhouse, blanketing the space in a fragile promise, a promise to fight. The dark whispers began to stir, shifting and slithering around her, taunting her resolve. "Face your fears," they hissed. "What price will you pay?" Claire steeled her heart against their insidious pull, the weight of her past pushing down upon her like lead. "I've carried my burden long enough," she shouted, forcing her feet to move forward into the blackness. Onward she went, battling the instinct that begged her to flee, shadows nipping at her heels like vicious dogs. Deeper into the nightmare, she plunged until she reached the heart of it all, a vast hall full of mirrors, each reflecting fragmented pieces of her worst memories. Childlike laughter echoed, dark and twisted. "Look at what you've left behind," they mocked. "You can't escape your choices." Setting her jaw, Claire searched the mirrors, feeling the ghosts of her past beckon her like moths to a flame. And then she saw it, a small form in the reflection, struggling against the darkness. "Lily," she cried, heart racing. The figure appeared trapped within the glass, her little hands pressed against the cold surface. The distance felt infinite as Claire reached out, fingers brushing against the mirror. "I'm coming for you," she whispered fiercely, knowing she had to shatter this facade to reach her daughter. With a surge of determination, Claire pulled her arm back and slammed her fist against the mirror. Glass-shattered shards exploded outward, glinting in the dim light like stars raining down. In that moment, the laughter curdled into screams, a cacophony of despair ripping through the air. Every fragment of herself that she had suppressed flared up, raw and agonizing. But amid the chaos, she felt a whisper of warmth. "Mommy." The sound sliced through the thorns of grief and regret. It was her child, my sweet Lily. Claire seized that sliver of hope and pushed through the shards, each step releasing more weight from her heart. Emerging through the wreckage, she stumbled into a dimly lit corridor where the weight of shadows grew lighter. Ahead, she glimpsed Lily's form, illuminated by a soft glow. Claire surged forward, fueled by a mother's love, each footfall steadied with purpose. "Mommy." Lily extended her arms, her small face filled with hope and fear. "Help me." Claire's heart soared, but a sudden crack of thunder echoed, dark clouds moving in. "You cannot have her," came the thunderous chorus of the voices she battled against. "The price must be paid." "No," Claire screamed, pain lacing her every word. "I choose to confront the truth. I'm done being afraid." The shadows writhed, retreating for a fleeting moment. The air shimmered, and a portal began to open, showing visions of her past, the arguments with Luis, the deep-seated fears of inadequacy, all mingling with beautiful memories of laughter, love, and light. "Mommy," Lily cried, pleading with those innocent eyes that would not let her falter. And it hit Claire like a lightning bolt. Her pain was part of her, but it didn't have to define her. She needed to show her daughter that strength came from facing darkness, not avoiding it. With a pealing rush of courage, Claire stepped into the light and faced the swirling shadows before her. "I will fight for us," she declared. "For our memories, for our future." The shadows screeched, splintering into fragments as Claire's voice grew louder, fueled by a fearlessness that surged like a wildfire. "You are not my captors. You won't take my child from me." As she stormed deeper, the darkness writhed and hissed, curling away as if struck by a bright sun. The path forward grew clearer, yet the shadows' new words, sharper than any blade, sliced through her resolve. "What will you sacrifice?" they rasped, their voices curling around her, entwining her thoughts. "I will let go of every fear," Claire shouted, voice unwavering as she barreled towards the glowing figure of Lily. Finally, she reached her, the warmth of her daughter pulling Claire back from the edge of despair. Clutching Lily tightly, Claire closed her eyes, memories flooding her, moments of happiness interspersed with pain. With each heartbeat, she felt the darkness weaken, unraveling at the seams like a thread pulled loose. They stood together in defiance, love binding them, The swirling void surged around them, but Claire's fear morphed into a fierce light, bright enough to outshine the shadows. "You will not take my daughter. You will not take my joy," she roared. Then, just as everything felt poised at the cliff's edge, the cacophony faded away, whispers dissolving into silence. It felt as if time stretched infinitely behind them, and light poured into the void, consuming the shadows entirely. In a breathless instant, the chaos evaporated, and Claire opened her eyes to find herself back in the familiar backyard. The scent of barbecues floated through the air, laughter breaking the tension. The night sky glittered above, the oppressive weight of dread lifted away, replaced by stars twinkling like sisterhood promises. "Mommy," Lily laughed, her voice free, and Claire's heart soared. It was over. They were safe. "You're here," Claire whispered, tears streaming down her face as they embraced. The shadows had lost, and she would never again abdicate her joy to that darkness. As the fireworks exploded overhead, vibrant bursts of color painting the night, Claire gripped Lily tight, knowing they could face anything together. They looked at one another, a bond redeveloped, and began laughing amidst the colorful chaos, painting the beginning of their new story, one where love conquered fear. But the echoes of the night would forever whisper a lesson sometimes. You have to face the shadows to allow the light to truly shine. Now don't leave us hanging. If you love this story and want to hear more, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive adventures. Smash that like button now to fuel our journey and push the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. What did you think of the ending? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who crave a good chill. Your support keeps the stories alive.